Steeler Nation, we are back for another great episode of the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. Alongside of me, as always, Mic'd Up Sports One. And man, really love these episodes. We've been rocking and rolling. We have a Whip Yo guy coming on. Steelers are getting ready to report the rookie training camp. Man, it's exciting times right now. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I also really enjoy these episodes. As you mentioned, we just fired two out there, man. Check those out. JJ Galbraith, absolutely love that one. Big tight end from South Dakota coming over and hopefully developing a connection in camp with the guests we have on today. A signal caller, of course. You mentioned a local dude that we're excited to chat with.
Yeah, so Shane, let's get to it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Our guest today is a well-traveled individual, a few different colleges, but at the end of the day, all roads always lead back to home. We're excited to welcome in quarterback Seth Morgan. Seth, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy for you. First of all, obviously, we're excited for you to be rocking the black and gold. You're a local guy. I mean, I'm assuming, first of all, you a Steeler fan growing up?
Of course, bleed black and gold.
How can you not, right? I mean,
Right.
if you don't, you might get kicked out. But obviously, I mentioned the journey, and we'll get into that a little bit. Start at Mount Lebo, but when you hear from the Steelers, when you get the call that you're gonna get the chance in the organization, what's that reaction? What's that feeling like?
It was just absolutely surreal experience. I was actually driving down in like Market Square this past Monday, just kind of trying to see where I was gonna have lunch at, and I just get this 412 number, and the caller ID said Pittsburgh Steelers, and I was like, no way. Pick up the phone, it's Omar, and he's just like, hey, you ready to go? Like, we're super thrilled to have you. We want to see what you got. So can't sit here and say I didn't get emotional. Just it's a dream come true just to make it to this point with any team, and then the fact that it's the team I grew up cheering for just makes it that much better.
That's so awesome that it was Omar who reached out personally, because obviously it's a big deal. He's right there at the top of the food chain, of course, naturally behind the Rooneys at the hierarchy. What was the process like leading up to the draft? Did you know the Steelers were interested? Did you have a bunch of conversations with them leading up to it?
To be honest, not really. I mean, they went to my pro day. Casey Weidel was at our pro day, and he's a Mount Lebanon guy also, so we have a past relationship. I've crossed paths with him a couple times, and it was cool. Like, I wasn't sure if he knew me, but like when he was like, he came around, hey Seth, what's going on? So, I'd have to believe that they were keeping up with me, keeping tabs on me as my college career was going on. So to be honest, as the draft was getting closer and closer, the teams that I felt best about was Green Bay and New England. Just with their quarterback situations, both having established starters, but backups, a little more questionable situations. And those were the teams that I met with the most. Ultimately, neither of those teams pulled the trigger, but, I was coming out of the weekend like, all right, like what's next? Like, do we have to look at Canadian League now or, the UFL or overseas, whatever? And then getting that call on Monday from Pittsburgh was a little bit of a surprise, but Omar even said in his phone call, like, hey, you earned this. Like, we're super thrilled to have you. So, just really excited for the opportunity.
Man, that is badass. And it's always interesting because, we've heard from some Steelers before who were like, oh, I had no idea they were going to pick me up or grab me. But you're right. Like, you never know behind the scenes what's going on. We talked a little bit about your Whippio background. Dude, I mean, all the excellent players that come out of Western Pennsylvania throughout the last decades, leading up to literally every single year it happens. How much did that level of football help you get prepared for the next steps, obviously, which were colleges and now the pros?
Right. I think it's huge. I was literally just talking about this with my dad last night. I think specifically quarterbacks in Western PA. I mean, there's such a long history of guys that have, there's NFL Hall of Famers from this part of the country. But I think you're forced to have to play through different elements. We all know about Pittsburgh rain. You got to be able to play through that. It's getting cold towards the end of October and November when playoffs are starting in high school, and having to be able to play through those conditions. And then also just the caliber of football. Like you're mentioning, just the amount of talent that's gone through. You're playing against Division I athletes at week in, week out. And I've been fortunate enough to play against, I think Joey Porter Jr. and Phil Jerkovich and Derek Davis and all those studs over at Gateway, and just such, high level programs week in, week out in the WPIAL that it forces you to raise your level of competition, your level of preparation, which translates to once you get into college and then obviously the pros.
Yeah, it's a good transition. I mean, from VMI to Shepherd that we're super familiar with. I went to IUP, so
Yep. PSAC.
Yep, the PSAC. Shout out PSAC. It's not PSAC. For everybody out there, they need to digest that. But I'm curious about, so obviously, you took Tyson Badgent's spot, right? Did you transfer after him, I'm assuming?
Yeah. So I entered the portal like right after his last season, and their offense coordinator Tom Clark, who he coached me at VMI, he had since gone from VMI to Shepherd, and he was like, "Hey, we just had this guy who at the time was like, they were like, he's gonna go to the NFL. We need a quarterback. It's similar offenses, and you'll have the keys to the car, like you're running the show." And it seemed like the best situation for me to just really just take charge, take command. And seeing that the success that Tyson ended up having, it was like kind of made it a no-brainer, honestly, to choose Shepherd.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. Obviously with the Chicago Bears, and has played in some big games. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a little intimidating just because he started there for 5 years and he's from the area. So I mean, you talk about a hometown hero. I don't think anyone portrays that better than him. He comes back all the time too. He's all the way out in Chicago, but seems like any opportunity he gets to come home and be around his support system, he's doing it. He's doing stuff in the community. So it was definitely like it's a weird feeling to follow that up. But I gotta give credit to my coaches there and my teammates who made it such a welcoming environment and telling me like, all right, Tyson had his time and we were obviously super appreciative of that. But like, hey, you're the quarterback here now. We're staying in the present. So just go out and be you. Don't feel like you have to live up to his name or anything like that. And I think because of that, my success just got that much larger than maybe what it could have been.
It's great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great segue as well. You transferred to New Hampshire. Just talk about, kind of learning the new offense and how difficult or how easy was that for you? I'm guessing that it was pretty challenging.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, fortunately, like some people might look at it as a negative, I always saw it as positive. I had, through my 6 years of college, I had 5 different coordinators. Just as we all know in this day and age of as much as players are moving around with the portal and everything, coaches are moving around just as quickly. And so I was forced to learn so many different philosophies and terminologies at all my stops. Like at VMI, I had 3 different coordinators in 4 years. And then I go to Shepherd, and that's my 4th. And then I go to New Hampshire, it's my 5th. So it wasn't like going to New Hampshire was like my first time like having to learn something new. And the past experiences, it's almost like I use it as like a learning technique of when I was learning New Hampshire stuff, I would oh well, at Shepherd we called this, and it like you kind of piece things together, and I also got to give a huge credit to my New Hampshire coaching staff of like making sure like they weren't going to call anything or install anything that I didn't feel comfortable with. So it was a constant communication of like, hey, this is something we would like to do. Let us know what you think. And we were able to like collaborate on, what ended up being the offense that you saw last fall. But there was certainly stuff going on behind the scenes of us communicating, dialogue back and forth of kind of what I've done in the past, what I'm comfortable with versus what they're trying to get accomplished. Mhm.
That's understandable. Yeah, that's you are right. I mean, the coaches, especially with NIL now and the transfer pool the way it is, it's literally insane. But coaches just as well as players. So let's talk about the Steelers QB room a little bit. Obviously, Mason Rudolph. It looks like he is QB1 right now. Just kind of talk about your thoughts on Mason and just being a part of that, possibly being a part of that QB room.
Yeah, I mean, watching Mason throughout the years, like he's been called upon in numerous settings, whether it's Ben was getting hurt and he had to fill in, or obviously he got chances to start for numerous games, playoff games. He's shown that he's able to do it at a high level. I've never gotten the chance to meet him myself, but I've only heard great things as a person. He seems like an awesome guy, and I'm looking forward to getting the chance to meet him. But when you're able to stay in the NFL for more than just a couple of years, like that's for a reason. Your mental, like your ability to see the game and process the game has to be at an elite level, which he's shown he's able to do. And then also he's just a super impressive person. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's got an extremely strong arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up Steelers fan, like you see it. So yeah. And then to talk about just the opportunity of being in that room, just really look into just open eyes at rookie minicamp and show them that I'm capable of doing it at this level. Just yeah, I can't really explain enough or talk about enough. Just
It's
the
understandable.
excitement for the
I mean,
opportunity.
I can't imagine just getting a car from Omar Khan. You're like you said, you're in Market Square, and I mean that kind of set off the whole podcast. That just shows you what the Steelers organization, is. To make that call, it definitely says a lot, and I'm glad you were able to experience that. I have one more question, and I feel like every single podcast we have brought up this name, but talk about possibly sharing a room with Aaron Rodgers. Do you have any thought on him? Obviously. It's kind of just he might still be on a darkness retreat, but just talk about possibly that being happening. Someone a quarterback of that caliber, and then Mike, you could take it from here.
Yeah, growing up as a quarterback, in this era, I don't know if like you could say Tom Brady's the GOAT just with his winning, but I don't know if there's ever been a more talented passer than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you can go back and talk about guys like Elway and Brett Favre, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers has done it just as good or better than anyone else. So I've always he fascinates me. His outlook on football. Like I think some things get caught up where some of his off the field stuff kind of takes away from what he's done as a quarterback. I think he's a hell of a football player and someone that just truly loves football. And that's, I love football more than anything. So, just getting the opportunity to meet him or, if in an ideal world, we're in the same quarterback room, just the opportunity to learn from him and all of his experience is just something like I would never take for granted.
Yeah.
Is there a player that you modeled your game after a little bit, or somebody that you looked up to and were like, yeah, this guy has a lot of similar traits. I want to study him.
It changes year by year, and when I was playing at VMI, I was definitely more of a true like dual threat. I mean, I was playing at probably about 185, 190 pounds, so I was moving a little quicker, and so you watch guys more like suited for that game. And then as I got up to 215 this past season, just became more of a traditional pocket passer. It's an AFC North rival, so I'm a little hesitant to bring it up. But Joe Burrow is just someone that immediately comes to mind as someone that I watch just do it at such a high level, and just seeing how he just processes information on the field at such a fast pace, and just his decision making. And then also I know he kind of has had a down year, but I've always been a fan of Dak Prescott. I think he's, obviously extremely talented passer, not looked at as like a true dual threat, but can extend plays, like make plays with his legs, even when it's just scrambling and throwing on the run. And then I also think of a guy like Kirk Cousins, who I've always kind of respected his game and thought he's, done it at a high level.
Some great names, and obviously, just because you appreciate Joe Burrow's game, we don't expect you walking around with a Bengals jersey on.
No, never, never.
Around the Berg, that's for sure. At least, obviously, not now. That's for sure. But I'm just curious, what's the next step, man? You headed up early next week, right?
Yeah, no. So it's actually 2 days from now. I report Thursday, and it sounds like they got us all the rookies staying in a hotel for the weekend, and it's 3 practices, bunch of meetings, and things of that nature. And I really just want to go in there and open some eyes, just kind of get people talking about me. I think I'm not one of these guys that got drafted or is coming from this big school with a lot of press around them. So really just looking to go in there and kind of almost defeat the narrative of, oh, this is a small school kid who can't adjust to the speed change or the complexity of offense. As I was talking about earlier, just having so many different coordinators, I've been forced to learn stuff at a fast pace just in order to play. And so I think that's a strength of mine is I process information quickly. I feel like I have good vision on the field, and I'm a quick decision maker. And so really just looking forward to getting the opportunity to show that this weekend, and really just interested to see, how I stack up with, a guy like Will Howard, national champion, super, countless amount of accolades, not only this past season, but his years at Kansas State as well. And just really looking forward to the opportunity to just compete.
Yeah, man, you're a Steelers fan. You know all about guys like Duck Hodges. Don't have to come from a big school with a big, reputation and come in and ball out. So we're excited to watch the journey, man. Best of luck, and good luck, man. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining us.
No, I can't thank you guys enough. I had a blast.
Thanks, Seth. Good luck, man.
Appreciate it.
No doubt. I mean, I said it at the end there. There's precedent. We talked about Tyson Bagent. We talked about Duck Hodges right there. And he mentioned New England and Green Bay not having deep quarterback rooms. Well, how about Pittsburgh right now? I think this is the, least depth in terms of quarterbacking in that room in the entire league. We'll see what happens with Rodgers. But it's a good situation. If you're getting a call from Omar Khan, there's quite the level of interest.
I think that's what stood out to me. Like you said, we had a few other guys on, and he was like, the scouting guys, so for him to personally, call, Seth, that's a big deal. So excited. I always root for these Whippeal guys, anyone in black and gold, but especially these Whippeal guys. And if anyone's rooting for them, I'm sure the Steelers would want to add some Whippeal guys to their roster. So really great stuff. We're going to keep chugging along. Like you said, rookie mini camps here. We're going to be covering all great content. Make sure you follow all of our socials. Again, this is the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy, J York Football, Mic'd Up Sports 1. Shane, close the curtain.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.